estate is the world's largest asset class with almost 240 trillion in value. Contrast this with the stock market that is 72 trillion. And if you think about the value and only 7% of that real estate is actually tradable and liquid, you can realize the potential for tokenizing real estate in today's market. And today we're going to talk about that. Tokenization, in simple terms, is basically taking the ownership of an asset, turning that ownership into an LLC or a format that is tradable, associating the value of that LLC shares with a stable coin or some form of stable cryptocurrency, and then listing the value of those shares on an online exchange where buyers and sellers can actively trade. That is basically tokenization of real estate in simple terms. So some of the benefits of doing this are, number one, it makes it much easier for people to buy into at lower amounts. So say you are an active real estate investor. If you're offered a syndication, you might be asked to put in $100,000. Maybe you don't want to risk that much capital with an operator you don't know, but you would happily put $10,000 in. Tokenization makes it much simpler to transact smaller amounts into real estate deals. The second reason is that it's much more liquid. So again, if you take the example of a syndication, if you buy into it, you are basically stuck in that investment until that operator decides it is time to exit. Versus if you are able to buy and sell your shares on an online exchange, if you decide you don't like it anymore and you want to go invest in something else, or maybe that operator is doing really well and you actually want to sell it and profit from an increase that was not expected, having an online exchange with the ability from a tokenization to buy and sell it makes it much more easier for you to be able to do that. And then, of course, if you decide it's time to exit, you can easily do that independent from the operator. That also makes that operator much more accountable, knowing that instead of having captive investors, they are able to exit at their desire, which increases the accountability for them as well. So some people might say, but we already have REITs and online crowdfunding platforms where you can buy and sell real estate. Why is tokenization any different? Well, there's a couple key points to understand here why it's different and how it can be beneficial. So essentially, when you buy and sell shares of a REIT is basically real estate that's pooled together and then put into a product that's bought and sold on public stock market exchanges. So because it's bought and sold on those exchanges, it actually acts somewhat like a stock and then kind of somewhat like real estate, making it a unique asset, if you will, because it is affected by what is happening in the stock market versus real estate just on its own is just affected by what's happening in the economy, which could be independent of the stock market. So a REIT is kind of a separate class because of the forces affecting that. Now with crowdfunding sites, sure, those are places where you can easily buy and sell little pieces of real estate deals, but typically those real estate deals are very large deals that in order to make sense of the regulation rules that you have to have in order to offer what's considered securities on those types of online exchanges, the operators have to invest only basically in large assets in order to make sense and make those numbers work. So it limits the pool of available property types to a very specific, a larger type of property. Whereas tokenization can take the form of all different types of real estate and all different sizes. So say, for example, you own 3 short-term rental vacation properties and you would like to expand your portfolio, but you need to raise capital to do that. If you are tokenizing those properties, selling parts of that equity on the exchange, that gives you the liquidity to go out and expand your portfolio and easily offer more of that to investors as well. So it's a much more liquid, it gives you much more of ability to have a liquid portfolio and offer and raise money if you're a sponsor, or if you're an investor, the ability to get into all different types of deals and all different types of markets and have a lot more options. And options are always good. So there's also the benefit too of not being tied specifically to US currency. So if you're trading in a cryptocurrency, it's easy to cross borders and offer it across the world instead of being limited more so by currency. Of course, there's a lot of different laws out there for different countries, so there is still a lot that's yet to be explored and expanded upon with tokenization of real estate. But without a doubt, it is coming to you. And the question is, will you welcome it and be a part? I hope this video brought you some value. If so, please like, comment, and share. And if you're looking for investment real estate in the Northeast of the US, please reach out to us. We're happy to help.